What up? It's Snowflake! And I'm here to give you a tutorial on color correction. A while back someone asked me to show them how to use the three-way color corrector in Final Cut Pro 7, and I'm here to show you what I do. Now, I am in no way a color grader or someone who focuses on color correction. But Final Cut Pro has different filters that you can add and different little tweaks and stuff that you can make in order to make the image a little bit better, and I'm going to show you what I do in the fastest way possible. Okay, so I've got two little clips for you here, and it's just two different camera angles. And so this was a project that I worked on a little while ago, and here was the problem. To me, this image here is a little blown out, a little washed out, not that much. The whites or the blacks are kind of washed out, and the color looks a little faded to me. And over here it's a little too dark, and I want these images, when they cut back and forth to each other, to look as close to similar colors and stuff as possible. I think I worded that well. So I'm going to just show you what I did in order to do that. So I go into my effects, and I have it favorited here is the color corrector three-way, but you can go find it in the video filters, and under color correction is the color corrector three-way. Okay, and you're going to take that, and you can highlight your clips or whatever, and you can drag it onto the clips themselves. Now, this is what I do. I double click on this, we open it up in our filters tab, and there's two ways to look at it. You can either look at all the hard numbers of everything that shows the different values, or you can go over here and you can look at the visual of it, and you can make adjustments by dragging these bars and doing auto levels and matching hues and stuff like that. This is how I typically start my process. If I don't need to adjust the color generally and it's just exposure, I go over to the filters tab, and there's three things that I focus on. It's the black controls, the level of the black controls, the level of the mid-range controls, and the level of the highlight controls. Oh, I'm sorry, four things. And that would be saturation would be the last one. Because essentially, if you're adjusting the exposure, if you go one way or the other, it adjusts the color of the image, how saturated it is. And so I will either add saturation or desaturate in order to match what I'm doing with the exposure. So I'll just show you what I do to start off. This image to me looks a little washed out. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to add to the blacks, I'm going to add -5, and it makes it a little darker. You could take it even a little lower if you wanted, -10. And then I'm going to go to the mid-range controls. And because I made the blacks a little darker, and actually the image looks a little overexposed to me, not bad, but I just want to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to take the mid-range controls and I'm going to go hit that in 95. And I usually try and do things in increment of 5 to just sort of see where I'm at. And then the levels, I'm going to do that in an increment of 10. I'm going to go to 245. And so it made it a little bit darker, but if you just kind of look at the comparison between the two, I think the image looks better. But now the image looks maybe a little too much color. No. Let's try it. You add a little bit more. You can add a little bit more color, like going up or down over 100. 100 is the standard, is like the normal. You can go below it and it will take it out, or you can go above it and it will add it. I'm going to go to about 110 because I think that gives it a good amount of color. But his face looks a little red, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the visual now, and when I start adjusting colors, this is where I go. And essentially, the blacks are going to adjust the blacks in the image, the whites are going to adjust the whites, and then the mids are going to adjust like the luminance of the image of different parts of it. So it's a little red, so I'm gonna just click on this and I'm gonna drag it down a little bit and just kind of go into the blue area. And you can see that the color changes as you go around this wheel, but I'm gonna take it down here and I'm gonna go just a little blue, bluish, a blue hue. And to me, that looks better. Now, I'm going to go to the next camera angle, do the same thing. Now this one looks a little dark to me. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to go into the color corrector three-way, or I'm sorry, the filters. I'm going to pull that down. And we're going to go to black controls. And actually first, I'm going to go to the mid-range controls. And I'm going to add, let's see, I'm going to take that up to 110. And it gives it a little bit more luminance. And I'm going to go to the highlight controls. I'm going to add that a little bit there too. I'm going to go to 265. And then I'm going to go to the blacks. And because I added some luminance, I want to take down the blacks a little bit so there's a better contrast. and I take that to -5. Now, whenever I add luminance to something, I also add a little bit of saturation, because when you make it brighter, it takes out some of the color, and when you go the other direction, it adds the color, and you want to take away some of it. So because I've added luminance, I'm going to add a little bit of saturation. I'm going to take it to about 110. Yeah, and that looks pretty to me. Looks really pretty, actually. Look how pretty he looks. So then, now if I just kind of go back and forth between the two, to me, it looks to match a little bit more. And I can see that he looked at the camera. And yeah, so let me just show you the comparison. Here is the one that I color corrected, and here is it without the color correction. Let's go over here. No, stop that. Stop it. Wrong button. Okay, here it is without. No, silly. Chose the wrong one. Here it is without, and here it is with. Without. With. To me, that looks better. Now let's go to the next one. Boom. Oh, it already opened it up in there. Cool. Here it is with, and here it is without. With. Without, with, without, with, without. What up? That's how I do three-way color corrector in Final Cut Pro. If that was helpful, and I hope it was, please like the video and maybe even leave a comment. And then subscribe, because that'd be awesome, because I'm going to keep releasing videos, tutorials, and tips on Final Cut Pro 7, Apple Motion, and Compressor. So I hope that was helpful, and I just spit a little.